Hello and welcome back to the TS Collective. Today we're going to be playing some more World of Warships. And we are going to be taking out my absolute current favorite ship in all of the World of Warship tiers. The Tier 5 United States destroyer, the Nicholas. It is a mean little ship. It is super quick, very, very maneuverable. You practically can dodge around any kind of missiles or shells coming in. Especially if it's battleship shells, so you can see them coming. You can just waggle your tail a bit, and they just fall all around you. On top of that, the torpedoes are fairly strong. You get 4 sets of 3, 2 on each side. So you do have to switch sides to be able to fire both of them, or at least both sets, should I say. The range is only 5.5 kilometers, which isn't amazing, and this is the fully upgraded version. It can go further, but I don't think that, the torpedoes don't really get upgraded. The only real difference between the A and B is realistically you're adding a little more, you're losing some of you're adding anti-aircraft mounts, but you're losing a turret. Which, in this case, in this ship, you really want a little more, another turret, but realistically, it's not going to harm you as much, and you really want that kind of defense because you only had 2 guns, anti-aircraft guns before, and that really does not cut it, especially if aircraft carrier is chasing you down with some torpedo bombers or dive bombers. I cannot use the words today. But the biggest focus for the Nicholas is using artillery, and it has 4 127mm guns. The range is just shy of 11 kilometers, which isn't amazing, isn't terrible, but they fire ridiculously quickly. They pepper the enemy as quickly as possible, and I've sat in smoke and fired these guns and gotten over 100 hits very easily. I will say that I do have a little more of a cavalier way of playing this ship. I do prefer to use torpedoes whenever possible and ambushing, similar to how you do with the Japanese, and then kind of running away. Which realistically, that's not the ideal way. It's not the quote-unquote best way to use these kinds of ships. Really, you're looking to do long-range artillery, just peppering everyone until they die. But who doesn't love big booms? And I really don't like battleships enough to really want the big booms. So let's take this guy for a spin. This is going to be an older replay. This is one I had saved. But I need to get back in and finish playing the rest of this because I really want to try out the Farragut and the Mayhan and such like that afterwards, because that looks like a pretty little ship right there. Alright, let's go on to the gameplay. Alright, well, there are actually going to be 2 different recordings in this video. I actually just played one as I was in the middle of setting up this video to start actually editing and everything, because I wanted to get back in the feel of playing the Nicholas and getting used to how it works, so I could give this commentary a much better atmosphere and a little bit more of a background. So the first one is the older one that I have. I played, this is the big race map. I feel like I get this one almost once every 3 times minimum. At least a third of the time it's this map. Occasionally it's some of the island maps. I think I've gotten the polar map once or twice at best. I feel like they may need to start leveling out a bit. Granted, I mostly play lower tier ships, because I haven't unlocked most of them. The Nicholas is one of the highest tier ones I have. I also have the Murmansk premium Russian cruiser, which I believe is either tier 5 or tier 6. So as always, with most destroyers on this map, you do tend towards the smaller islands in the little bay area there, in the southwest portion of the map. And we can already see a cruiser and a battleship way north, so hopefully we won't have to worry too much about that. So I'm charging around with my Nicholas friend here, as well as a battleship behind us and another destroyer. There's a Myogi on the horizon, as well as a Wyoming that just appeared. This is a very common tactic to go with on this map, if only because you're really going to get a much more protected area, access to this area. That being said, a lot of the other destroyers from the other team will be hitting directly at you, so you've got to sometimes do a bit of a joust to try and get rid of them. And that's part of why I like the Nicholas. Even if your torpedoes miss or they're not being as effective as you need them to be, your guns can still pepper the heck out of anything that comes towards you. So now we spotted our first destroyer friend. It's a Minakaze. This is before it got split up to the Minakaze and the Mitsubi. Is it Mitsubi? I don't recall. I've got them both because I had the Minakaze. So naturally I start peppering away with my guns, and you can see how quickly they're reloading. It's actually fairly amazing how effective this ship can be if you're just rolling the shots. Just keep the salvos going. And the way that I'm situated, I've got a full broadside going. And yes, I'll be the first to admit my gunnery is never that good. So in that last shot that I made, I incapacitated him by basically I shot out his propellers. So it made it impossible for him to continue turning. And then my friend with the Nicholas managed to get a bunch of torpedoes upside him. So there we go. We have some fighters that have just detected us. Fantastic. This is when I realized that my double A anti-aircraft thing starts firing off, so I turn it off, which is either Shift or Control P. I can't remember exactly which one it is. So I pop smoke to try and hide it from the attack, and I can see some guys coming in from the other side, so I'm trying to, from the north. So I'm trying to keep myself protected. It's a Furotake, so they're very, very, very dangerous, because they're... Once you go from the Kuma to the Furotake, it goes from, I believe, 128mm guns or so to 200mm guns. And that's a big difference. And they got 5 big single turrets. They can fire almost every direction, and they're very powerful. So pretty much all I'm doing now is firing to keep these guys off of me. I'm trying to protect this Nicholas as best as possible. Shadowing him, trying to keep him at least mildly protected, or to provide more targets for them to have to deal with. And with a multiplayer game like this, you really are trying your best to keep your friends alive. And even if you don't know them, which frankly I have no idea who this Nicholas guy is, I just, he's helping me. Why shouldn't I help him? So now he's coming under attack from this St. Louis, and I think this Nicholas next to me is being very excessively over-aggressive. And with the Nicholas, it can help. It really works sometimes. You can be super aggressive and you can get a ton done. The issue is, if you are too aggressive and he's now charging directly at a St. Louis, which has a metric ton of freaking guns on it, you're going to have a bad time. It's going to happen that way. So I just set him on fire, the St. Louis. The Nicholas's initial salvo of torpedoes appears to have missed mostly. But now that I've turned my attention to a different thing, and one of my torpedoes hit, it has caused flooding. I'm now attacking the Königsberg as much as possible, who's already burning. He's already got torpedoes flying all around him. I'm really just farming some damage right now. That being said, that Königsberg just took out Shadow Tank 59, who I couldn't tell you what he was driving. It appears to be another destroyer, but there, I took him out just now. A little bit of revenge for my friend. So now, I feel like this seems to happen a lot with the Nicholas. You have a lot of time to breathe. You can see the St. Louis. He is flooding from my torpedo, and he's taking a little bit of damage every so often. And along with fire damage, flooding damage, people sometimes just forget to hit the repair button. And that just helps me, whoever is flooding them. So even if you are using an American destroyer, if you're not using your torpedoes, you're just focusing being a gunship, you're wasting part of your best ability that you have. So that St. Louis is still taking damage from my flooding. I've been detected again. Couldn't tell you from what. Probably actually from the St. Louis. And there you go. I got the Liquidator medal. Fantastic. So up ahead, that Wyoming just took a massive hit from something. I'm assuming it's a Citadel. So we got the Congo and the Miyogi way ahead north of us. And now, when you look at this, right, you've got two battleships, and now we have two cruisers in the area, and I was thinking, 2 destroyers, I can get in there and I can do some damage. But then the 2 cruisers appeared, and I thought, well, the better part of Valor is running away. The Furutake still seems to be chasing after me. The Karlsruhe is a very dangerous ship if being played well, but I find that I have a lot of trouble with it. It's a little bit underpowered for me. Those torpedoes aren't going to do anything, but realistically, if anyone were trying to chase directly at me, would have seen them and tried to veer away, would have given me a little bit of time. That's more like a chaff to try and get away from air-to-air missile kind of thing in aircraft. Doesn't always work, and it really, really works on cruisers for the most part because they're trying to escape more than anything else. So we've got some air torpedo bombers and such like that in the far north who are spotting for us, and I can see this Miyogi behind the island. The Furutake has turned around and is headed back southwest, along with, I believe it was the Congo. And the Miyogi is now apparently by himself, because I don't see the Karlsruhe anymore. And it's a fairly good chance that the Karlsruhe has moved off towards the west as much as possible. And just as I'm charging up the corner here, we have a Minikaze, I believe it's the same one I was firing at earlier, chasing after me. And again, I dropped the torpedoes to get him to hide away from me. That being said, he is a Minikaze, so he will be dropping torpedoes, so I'm fully anticipating that. So I got my backup from some of my friends behind me, so I'm not going to worry too much about the Minikaze. That he's basically driving straight into the middle of their enemy and my team. So he's going to have a lot of trouble. And I'm just going to farm a little bit of damage. And there he goes. I believe there was a torpedo hit. So now we are 5 kilometers away from the Miyogi. My initial spread is just 2 of the torpedoes from one side. And I'm going to take a little bit of damage from that. But it's not that much in comparison to what he can do. So the initial spread is just 6 torpedoes. It's going to make him turn towards me, which will make it much more difficult for him to hit me, because he can't go broadside. A Miyogi has 2 turrets in the back and 1 in the front. If he has to turn to only 1 in the front, it makes it difficult for him to hit me. Now his back turret's going to turn around. I have all the time in the world to just keep firing. I have 3 seconds left on my torpedoes. I'm just waiting for them to finish. And now the only thing I can say here is that I fired it too far to the right. It should have been far more left, and I get way better hits. That being said, 21,000 damage in 1 massive strike. So that was pristine work as a destroyer. That's the kind of thing you want to happen, that they are in a position where they have so few guns firing at you at once. And the Miyogi is a particularly easy battleship to do that against, because they have to turn their butt to get all their guns to bear, and their guns take forever to turn around. So if you are able to make them turn the way that you want, I think I got lucky that he turned the wrong way. Pretty well for what he needs to. He turned the wrong way. It would have been better if he had turned away from me and then fired his rear guns. But ultimately, he was a battleship who was by himself, and he kind of paid for that completely. And now I finally found the Karlsruhe again. Now I'm really just farming damage, because frankly they have 4 ships left and we have only lost 4 ships. So we are in a much better stead than they are. My Miyogi is busy chasing down this the Karlsruhe as well. And we also have to worry about I believe it was the Congo is still left. The Furutake is still coming up as well. Oh, there he is, Furutake. It's only 5.7 kilometers away, and I am freaking out because I've been doing so well. He is just taking out my poor little Miyogi friend over here, and I'm thinking, I don't want to die. I've been doing so well, but the Miyogi is his corpse is in the way. If I when I just fired torpedoes, if I had fired torpedoes earlier, those torpedoes would have run straight into his body. That wouldn't have helped me at all. So I've just been hit quite severely by the Furutake, but I have my Isukaze friend and a couple other guys helping me out, so really, we're good. That Furutake basically walked straight into the same traps that the Minikaze hit before. So now I'm burning, now my turning's messed up, and my repair's on cooldown. Fantastic. See, this is biggest problem with being a destroyer is you have no HP to trade with. With cruisers, you sometimes have a little bit of leeway. It's a matter of making sure that you're getting enough bang, hitting them harder than they're hitting you, kind of thing. And with battleships, you literally have a heal that you can heal yourself with. I know that I'm not going to die before this my repair comes back, so I'm not too terribly worried. But if any of that, like, there's some bombers right just above me right now. If they had turned around and tried to bomb me, I'd have been dead. I'd be gone. Wouldn't have been any chance whatsoever. But yeah, this game is practically done. Let's move on to the score screens. And as you can see, our team won. Fantastic. Ended up with 67,000 damage, 64 hits, 4 torpedo hits, 3 kills, 2 set on fires, 3 floods, and I helped capture the final flag. 2,000 experience points, not so bad. I got 2 medals. One's for flooding, one's for devastating hit. And 162,000 credits. Excellent. As you can see, I managed to get to the top of the list on my team. 1,300 experience without any bonuses. I believe it was my first of the day. Pretty much no one on the other team did better than our 7th person. So it was a little bit on the easier, quote-unquote, side for my team. That being said, there were some times like the Furutake could have done a lot more near the end there. And the Miyogi, he did quite well, but frankly, he just drove in a straight line. And yeah, so I did do plenty of damage. Most of it was on the Miyogi and the St. Louis. But I did a fair amount of damage, spreading it out a bit, so that's pretty good. Now on to the next battle. And here we have a relatively quick battle on fault lines. And I don't know if you can see in the bottom right corner on the map, I spawned with 3 destroyers, pretty much the only ones on the right side of the map. The area on the right side has a series of islands, 2 big ones to the left, 2 big ones to the right, and 1 little one on the left side of the 2 middle big ones. Pretty much creating one massive channel that is down the eastern side of the map, as well as a channel in between the 2 islands where it is super dangerous. So on my Nicholas, I decided to go on the outside of the larger islands, and the island just to my left is a tiny little island, little speck that actually looks like a lion's head. And I wanted to post up here because this is a pretty good place to spot from, as well as hide, and there was plenty of ways to get out of that area. So an enemy destroyer is shooting straight up the canal, and there's 2 of my friends and other destroyers have gone around the middle of the canal, and they're laying down torpedoes all over the place. And now, as you may have noticed right there is a cruiser hiding in there. I've got my smoke screen set, so I can't really see anything that they're not spotting for me. But there is a cruiser there. So, it seems like a lot of the fighting is happening on the other side of the field of the map, and realistically, and I cut out a large portion of this game at the end because, frankly, it gets very boring. So just chase down a carrier for about 10 minutes. It felt like, but I decide, you know what, that cruiser is probably coming straight up that canal, like that corridor, like an idiot. So I am going to be equal idiot, and I'm going to straight down this little narrow gap here because I'm thinking the cruiser is probably going to try and drop torpedoes or something and then turn straight up this aisle so it can get away from my friends and the destroyers over there. As it turns out, that's exactly what happened. I got super lucky here. He starts turning towards me. I start turning away even though it's going to ground me eventually. I drop torpedoes a little bit shorter than I probably should have. He sends some torpedoes in my direction as well. I hit him twice with torpedoes. I missed with another 2, I believe. Just barely missed me with some torpedoes, and I wail on him until he dies. I'm so excited and freaked out by having this plan succeed that I haven't actually hit my repair ability until right about now. That was fun. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. I will see you on the next video. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like or subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Thank you very much for watching.